feel there are certain things that I can do for the people of Kabwata Constituency in terms of development and in terms of representation in Parliament that I could not do if I stood on the ruling party ticket, because I feel that standing on the ruling party ticket and speaking for the people tends to have some kind of conflict, because when you're a member of the ruling party, you say what you are told to say, you do what you are told to do. You don't necessarily report to the people, you report to the party that gave you that candidacy or that adoption. So I felt is a way of being able to serve the people freely without looking over my shoulder or without taking instructions from somewhere. I should stand as an independent and give the people of Kabwata a real voice and a true representation that will report directly to them and nobody else.
Okay, and now since you're 3 weeks after leaving the party, how's the reception been like in Kabwata constituency?
The reception has been all right. As you know, Kabwata right now, I'll be honest with you, it's open. There isn't anybody that can say that they're a dominant figure in the race for Kabwata. The race is predominantly between 3 candidates, and none of those 3 candidates can say that they are clearly in the race, including myself. But as we go towards July, I'm sure opinions and preferences will begin to shape up. But my team and myself, we are working very hard to sell ourselves to the people of Kabwata constituency. I'm not taking it for granted that because I was a councillor in Kamwala Ward 5 for the spectator in a football match, you have no influence over the game. But when the results are poor, fingers point at you as a councillor. So I said, I'm not going to take that finger pointing. I'm going to do my best to save as councillor, and I did my best. We did so much in Kamwala South. We stopped flooding at Kamwala South Health Post, where we built a storm drainage. We did paving at Kamwala Urban Clinic. Again, we stopped the floods there. We put street lights on some roads. We did some classroom blocks, which expanded the capacity at Kamwala Basic School for skilled children. We fitted them with desks, though not very satisfied with the desks because most of them never came through. And we did Lakson Mapushi Police Post in Kamwala South, which has contributed to enhancement of the security situation there. So we did some things, but I was not satisfied. Had I been given the authority that is due to a councillor to make those decisions, I could have done better. But I'm back again on the race for the higher office of Kabwata constituency because I want to do much, much more, not only for Kamwala ward where I was, but for all the 4 wards, Kabwata, Dibala, Chilenje, and Kamulanga, Kwajek.
And we have been seeing over the last couple of weeks the treatment, or if I should call it, of independent candidates, especially those who possibly were once part of the UPND and then now are out. For example, such as Gary Nkombo. And you also did have quite a similar occurrence as where you were harassed, or rather reportedly harassed, by UPND cadres in Chilenje. Walk us through that particular experience.
Thank you very much. You see, Zambian politics has not yet evolved to a point where we can do civilized politics. People take a personal grudge when you leave a political party, but the constitution itself allows you to join a political party of your choice or leave that political party of your choice. So if we were to do what I call civilized politics, people should not take a grudge at the decisions of candidates to leave ruling parties. But unfortunately, the situation is that when you leave a political party, you are treated as, for lack of a better...
Because you're still campaigning.
We shall continue to be law-abiding citizens. The fact that UPND is the campaign team in the UPND campaign team in Kabwata is flouting ECZ regulations does not give us also the impotence to also flout, because we understand that when it comes to these campaigns, independents or oppositions, or the opposition, to put it that way, we are targets of authorities. The ruling party candidate and his campaign team can make mistakes, they can flout regulations, they'll get away with it. But us, we can't get away with it. So we are not going to fall into that trap of trying to do as they are doing. We are going to continue to be law-abiding citizens, and we understand the people of Kabwata constituency. They are seeing what is happening and they are not happy about it at all. Even the reception which the UPND in Kabwata constituency are getting as they are doing a door-to-door, if they are honest with themselves, they can read between the lines and they can tell that things are not going to augur well for them in Kabwata. So we are not panicking. We know that the people are with us and the people will make a decision at the end of the day.
And have you possibly engaged law enforcement officers to ensure that there's peace even as you campaign?
The law enforcement officers were the first to be engaged when this incident happened in Challenge, where the UPND flouted the timetables and they flouted the boundaries of where they should campaign. The law enforcement officers were the first to be informed, and they were on the scene. And they saw for themselves that indeed the UPND was in an area or a territory where they were not supposed to be campaigning. And our expectations, the expectations of my campaign manager, was that upon reporting them and that upon the law enforcement officers coming on the ground, they should have taken immediate action to remove that campaign team, to guide it, to say, look, we have a timetable which you should all be following, so can you kindly move away from this challenge area to a designated area where you are supposed to be. At the very least, that is what we should have expected. But guess what? Is that to ensure to say that the local authorities have got enough money or capacity to deal with the waste. You see, I'm amazed when I hear people talk about, especially the politicians who are aspiring for certain offices, talk about how they will tackle the issue of waste through the council. No. That mandate of tackling waste, as far as Lusaka City Council is concerned, the mandate of tackling the issue of waste was moved from Lusaka City Council to Lusaka Integrated Solid Waste Management Company. That is a company that is away from Lusaka City Council. It's under the Ministry of Local Government. And that is the one that is responsible for dealing with waste, not the council, not the councillor. So that is one point that people are yet to understand. But my view, as an experienced councillor, and my view as an aspiring MP, is that the waste collection function must be always with the local authority. It must be brought back to the local authority. But the local authority has the challenge of financing waste management, because there are places, even in Kamwala where I was, there are places where people are poor. People can't afford to pay the 120 kwacha to subscribe for waste collection. Areas like in Kamwala South, in Kwari area, people there live on less than $1 a day. That 100 kwacha you are asking them to contribute for waste is money that they should use to buy kapamela, kaunga, cooking oil, and soya chunks to feed their family for one meal a day. So it's practically impossible to make them pay for that. If you're going to arrest them, and the bylaws say you can arrest those that don't subscribe, you are going to arrest the entire compound. So my view and my solution is to come up with what is called tariff bundling. Tariff bundling simply means we are going to look at an institution like maybe the mobile service providers and say 0.01%, and that is an accurate figure. If we get 0.01% of your talk time from everyone, we can pool resources that can now be used to supplement council resources for waste management. Because what we are essentially doing is that we are subsidizing waste collection in order to allow the council to also collect in those areas where people cannot afford to subscribe to waste management. So at the policy level in Parliament, I'm going to push for a bill that will allow local authorities to do tariff bundling, either from ZESCO or from Lusaka Water or from mobile service providers, so that we take a little bit of a percentage that will enable our councils to be able to fund and supplement the collection of waste. That is the only way that is ever going to work. Aside from tariff bundling, even the Lusaka Integrated Solid Waste Management is under-resourced and incapacitated for that matter. They cannot manage to tackle the waste collection in this city, which has got over 4 million people that are producing tons and tons of garbage a day.
And now you did touch on CDF, and this has also been a very big conversation. In fact, I would say it's one of the things that the current government is pushing as saying as one of the biggest successes that they've got so far in their tenure. And from what you said as ward councillor, it didn't quite work, yet you are under the ruling party. So how is that possible? Because we've heard how it works for those who are with the ruling party, but also for some who are of the opposition. So where was there a divide there?
So let me make this clear. The CDF program is a very, very good program. And if there's something that we can congratulate President Haka in the Ichilema over, it is the increment of the CDF program from 1.9 to 40 million. That is a step ahead, and that is a step in the right direction as far as devolving resources away from central government to local authorities is concerned. There is only one or two problems. The CDF fund has been hijacked by unscrupulous politicians who have turned it into now a cash cow and a campaign tool. How has that been done? I told you in my preamble that the CDF is supposed to serve everyone in the constituency without looking at the faces, without looking at the party affiliation. 60% of the CDF is a component for projects. There is a problem with projects. Number one is that projects are not decided by the residents of the constituency. But the CDF Act itself says the people in the constituency must decide their project or developmental needs. Meaning, if the people in Kamwala constituency say, we want a tipper truck that will be collecting garbage truck. And by the way, that was one of the recommendations. The people of Kamwala wanted a tipper truck to be collecting garbage within the ward. That was shot down to say, no, we live in a city. Lusaka City Council has got enough tipper trucks. Lusaka City Council only has 4 tipper trucks against 38 wards. It can't manage. So that program for the tipper truck was shot down. What point am I trying to put across? The developmental priorities of the people are overruled by politicians. The politicians, they decide to say, these are the projects which we want for the people. For them, it's like, these are vanity projects. Oh, let me do this so that the people can come and vote for me. So that is where one problem is on the projects. Number 2 problem on the projects is that the CDF Act stipulates that projects should be given to contractors who live or operate within the constituency. I'm sure you've heard the president speak about empowerment of local contractors using the CDF, and that only those contracts which cannot be done from within the constituency should be outsourced, maybe from another district. But the standard was that the contractors that were working under the CDF projects in Kabwata Constituency and in Kamwala were not from within the constituency. They were not even from Lusaka. That is the number 2 problem, because how does the local economy in the constituency trickle down? Because those funds should go from the contractors to their workers, to suppliers, and even up to the markets, and even up to our wives and girlfriends who also benefit by going to the salon there in Kabwata Market to do their hair. Money should trickle down from the projects in the constituency and be spent in the constituency. But if the projects are being given to people out of the constituency, how does the local Kabwata economy benefit? That is number 2. We move to the empowerment component of the CDF, where there is 20% of loans and grants. That is where we had the biggest problem. That's where we had the biggest problem, because there now, that fund was politicized, okay? It was now used as a tool to empower political aligned supporters. So you find that the majority of ordinary residents who needed those grants to boost up their business at the market, maybe to buy equipment for their salons, to do all those things, maybe to start chicken rearing, the ordinary citizens of Kabwata constituency did not see a coin of that money. Those loans and grants were given to politically affiliated people in the constituency. And those are the biggest supporters of one of the candidates standing in the constituency, because of course they are beneficiaries. That is why I'm saying that the people who I want to support me are the people who have not benefited. If you have benefited, please go and support the candidate who benefited, because it will be very dishonest of you to be a beneficiary and still turn against the person who empowered you. So those who were empowered can vote for the MP candidate that empowered them. But those who were not empowered should vote for me as Mainda Simataa. Why? Because I've got 5 years of experiencing how this CDF has been abused. It's a good program, but it's been abused and it has been politicized. My function and my goal coming in as independent MP is to depoliticize the projects, to depoliticize the empowerment, so that ordinary citizens' voices can be seen and heard in the project priorities, and they can be beneficiary and participants in the CDF as contractors and also as beneficiaries of the empowerment, without having to ask them to say, can you show us your party card? No, that shouldn't be the way, because CDF is taxpayers' money. And taxpayers' money does not have political affiliation. It is the taxpayers' money for all Zambians to benefit.
And now, as we get to wrap up our conversation, what is your stance on the current cost of living, especially if you could measure it within even the constituency that you're campaigning in? What is the language on the ground?
Well, you know, by the standards of the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, the current food basket in Lusaka stands at somewhere around 12,000. The average wage of a worker is somewhere around 2,000, 2,500, thereabout. There is a big mismatch there. And overall, the average resident in Kabwata is finding it hard to make ends meet. But those are not pure constituency problems, those are national problems, because the cost of living is not restricted to a particular constituency. It is overall. So my job as a legislator, because people forget that as an MP, you are also a legislator. Your job is to propose laws that will make the lives of the people easier. So as far as the cost of living is concerned, I think parliamentarians must come up, and I'm not excluding myself because I'm aspiring to be a parliamentarian for Kabwata Constituency. We must come up with policies that look at the energy sector. Energy means fuel and electricity. I've been very clear about electricity, and I've said I'm going to propose a law that restricts, not stops, but restricts ZESCO from exporting power when Zambians need that power. The Kariba Dam, all the power stations that we have in Zambia were not built for foreigners. They were not built so that Botswana and Namibia, who have no power stations, can be tapping and enjoying the power at the expense of our people. Because our people who are running saloons, barber shops, butchery, welding shops, they need that power more than Namibians and Botswanas need that power. So, as an aspiring legislator, I'm going to propose a law which ensures to say that ZESCO is restricted from exporting power. The argument that no contracts have been signed, we cannot cancel those contracts can be cancelled by an act which we call the Force Majeure Act. Ask lawyers what that means. It simply means that you are in an unforeseeable circumstance, such as the drought. You have got the right to negate.
Against time. So finally, what are your words to the constituents of Kabwata? What are your closing words to them?
My closing words to the residents of Kabwata constituency is, you have seen how the past 5 years have been. The president has been good enough to give each and every constituency 40 million in terms of CDF. And there is also other sources of development funds from central government. But if you look around the constituency, in the past 5 years, what has been done in terms of road maintenance? What has been done in terms of providing water in those communities that have got no water? I want you, the people of Kabwata constituency, to take a hard look over the past 5 years and ask yourself a question. Are we better off in this constituency now than we were 5 years ago? If the answer is yes, then vote to maintain the incumbent candidate. If your answer is no, that things are not okay, for the past 5 years, things have not happened, and I know that very few of you have benefited from the CDF. If you are not a beneficiary of the CDF in one way or the other, then your choice is to vote for another candidate. And I'm putting myself there as an independent candidate, and I'm telling you, say that an independent candidate is the best candidate you can have, because that candidate is answerable to you and not the people that send him to parliament. Because in parliament, he will not say anything that antagonizes the ruling party. So vote for an independent candidate. An independent candidate is an independent voice to represent you in the development issues and other issues that will make your lives better. Thank you.
On that note, I'd like to thank you so much for joining me this morning. We should definitely have this conversation once again.
Thank you. It's been an honor to be on Power FM.
Absolutely. In case you've just tuned in, remember you too can also send in your messages as well. That's on 0955 997 997 or on 0979 192485. In studio with me was Mr. Mainda Simataa, who is an aspiring independent candidate for the Kabwata Constituency parliamentary seat. He is a well-known grassroots activist.